right, hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the English Podcast. The podcast that helps you improve your English step by step with fun, interesting, and useful conversations. My name is Adam, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Julia, who is just as passionate as I am about helping you learn English in a simple and enjoyable way.
Hello everyone, it's great to be here again. And I just want to say how happy we are that you've chosen to spend your time with us today. No matter where you are, whether you're listening at home, in your car, at work, or even while taking a walk, we are here to support you on your English learning journey. Every episode is designed to make your experience of learning English smoother, more enjoyable, and most importantly, more effective.
That's exactly right, Julia. And today, we have a truly special episode planned for you. We'll be talking about something that I know many of you are curious about, and that is the secrets that made me an English speaker. This is a topic that a lot of learners wonder about because when you start learning English, it often feels like a big challenge. But the truth is, there are specific strategies, habits, and techniques that can help you become fluent much faster than you might think.
Yes. And what's really exciting about this episode is that we are going to share real practical secrets that successful English learners, including ourselves, have used to reach fluency. These are not complicated theories or difficult grammar lessons. They are simple, powerful techniques that anyone can apply in their daily life. So if you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or unsure about how to improve your English, this episode is definitely for you.
Exactly. Now, before we dive in, let me quickly explain what you can expect from today's episode. First, Julia and I will start by sharing our own personal experiences of learning English. We'll talk about the challenges we faced, the mistakes we made, and the key moments that helped us improve. Then, we'll break down the most important secrets that can help you become a confident English speaker.
And don't worry, we won't just tell you these secrets. We'll also explain why they work and how you can use them in your own learning. Plus, we'll include some fun interactive exercises to help you practice. And of course, we'll answer some of the most common questions that learners like you have sent us about improving their English.
That's right. By the end of this episode, you will have a clear understanding of the habits and methods that can help you learn English faster and more effectively. And most importantly, you'll feel more confident about your journey as an English learner.
But before we begin, let's do a little warm-up. One of the best ways to improve your English is to start speaking and thinking in English as much as possible. So I have a simple question for you, and I want you to answer it in English, even if you are speaking to yourself. Are you ready? Here's the question. Why do you want to learn English?
That's a great question, Julia. And if you need a little help, don't worry. You can start your sentence by saying, I want to learn English because, and then complete the sentence with your own reason. Maybe you want to learn English for your job, for travel, to meet new people, or simply because you love the language. Take a few seconds to think about your answer, and if you can, say it out loud.
Yes. Saying your answer out loud will help you get comfortable with speaking in English. And if you're listening with a friend or family member, you can even ask each other the same question and have a short conversation about it. The more you practice, the easier it will become.
Absolutely. Now take a deep breath, relax, and get ready, because we are about to share some of the most powerful secrets that can help you become a fluent and confident English speaker. Let's get started. Now that we've set the stage for today's episode and given you a little warm-up to get you thinking in English, let's dive into something a little more personal. Before we talk about the specific secrets that helped us and many others become fluent in English, we want to take a moment to share our own experiences with learning the language. After all, we know that when you are just starting out, learning English can sometimes feel overwhelming. You might be struggling with pronunciation, unsure about grammar, or maybe you just feel nervous when speaking. But guess what? We've been there too. Learning English is a journey, and like any journey, it comes with challenges, lessons, and moments of breakthrough. So, to give you some inspiration and let you know that you are not alone, we are going to share our personal English learning stories.
Yes, exactly. So often, when we look at people who speak English fluently, it's easy to assume that it must have been easy for them or that they were somehow naturally gifted at learning languages. But the truth is, no one becomes fluent overnight. Every single English speaker, whether they are native or non-native, has gone through a learning process. And that process includes making mistakes, struggling with difficult words, and feeling stuck at times. That's why we want to take a moment to tell you about our own experiences. Because we know that many of you listening right now may be feeling the same way we once felt. So, Adam, why don't you go ahead and start? Tell us about your English learning journey.
All right. So my journey with learning English started many years ago. And to be honest, in the very beginning, it wasn't easy at all. When I first started learning, I felt completely lost. I remember sitting in my first English class, looking at my textbook, and feeling like I didn't understand anything. The words on the page seemed confusing. The grammar rules felt impossible to remember. And when the teacher asked me to speak, I got so nervous that I couldn't even say a full sentence. I was afraid of making mistakes, afraid of sounding silly, and most of all, afraid that I would never be able to speak English fluently. At that time, I used to believe that learning English was something that only smart people could do. I thought that maybe my brain just wasn't built for languages, and I even considered giving up more than once. But then something changed. One day I met a friend who spoke English fluently, and I asked him how he became so good at it. His answer surprised me. He told me that when he first started, he also struggled a lot, but instead of giving up, he found small ways to practice every single day. He told me that the secret to learning English wasn't about being smart or memorizing 1,000 grammar rules. It was about consistency and practice. After hearing that, I decided to change my approach. Instead of worrying about perfection, I started focusing on small daily improvements. I made a habit of listening to English songs, watching English movies, and even speaking to myself in English whenever I was alone. At first, it was uncomfortable, but over time, I started noticing progress. I remember the first time I was able to have a short conversation with someone in English without feeling scared. It wasn't perfect, but it was a breakthrough for me. That moment showed me that fluency isn't something you wake up with one day. It's something you build step by step. So, to anyone listening who feels like English is too hard or that they will never be able to speak fluently, I want to tell you, I understand how you feel because I have been there too. But if I could improve my English, then you can too. You just have to take small steps every day and trust that over time, those steps will lead to big results.
Wow, Adam, that's such an inspiring story. And I love that you mentioned how fluency is built through small daily efforts rather than trying to be perfect from the start. I think many learners will relate to that because it's so easy to feel discouraged in the beginning. For me, my English learning journey was a little different, but I faced a lot of the same struggles. I started learning English because I had a dream of traveling and working in different countries. I knew that English was a global language and that if I wanted to communicate with people from different parts of the world, I needed to learn it. At first, I was very excited. I thought, this is going to be fun. I'll just take some classes and watch some movies and soon I'll be speaking English easily. But I quickly realized that it wasn't as simple as I had imagined. One of my biggest struggles in the beginning was pronunciation. I would learn new words, but when I tried to say them out loud, people couldn't understand me. It was really frustrating because I felt like I knew the words in my mind, but they wouldn't come out right when I spoke. I also struggled with listening skills. Native speakers talked so fast that it felt impossible to catch the words. I would listen to a conversation and only understand a few words here and there, which made me feel like I wasn't making any progress. But then, just like Adam, I had a breakthrough moment. One day I was watching a movie in English, and I decided to turn off the subtitles. I thought, okay, even if I don't understand everything, I will just listen and try to catch as many words as I can. At first it was really difficult, but after doing this for a few weeks, I noticed that I was starting to recognize more words and phrases. That's when I realized that learning English is not about understanding everything immediately. It's about training your brain to get used to the language. Over time, I found more ways to practice. I started speaking out loud every day, even if it was just to myself. I would describe what I was doing like, I am making coffee, I am going to the store, the weather is nice today. I also started writing short journal entries in English, and little by little I became more comfortable. So for anyone who is struggling with pronunciation or listening, I want you to know that it's completely normal to feel that way in the beginning. But the more you expose yourself to English and the more you practice, even in small ways, the more natural it will start to feel.
That's such a great point, Julia, and I love that you shared those little daily habits that helped you. I think many learners struggle with the same things: fear of speaking, difficulty understanding fast speech, and feeling frustrated with pronunciation.
Absolutely. And that's why we want to remind our listeners that struggling doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're learning.
Before we move on, let's take a moment to introduce a few important words related to personal growth and learning. Challenge. Something difficult that requires effort. Learning English is a challenge, but you can do it. Practice. Doing something regularly to improve. You need to practice speaking English every day. Improve. To get better at something. Your English will improve with time and effort.
Great words. And now, let's move on to the secrets that will help you become a fluent English speaker.
All right. Now that we've shared our personal stories and some of the challenges we faced while learning English, it's time to dive into the real secrets that helped us, and can help you, become fluent English speakers. These are not just random tips or shortcuts. These are powerful techniques that have worked for countless learners around the world. The first and one of the most effective secrets is something called immersion.
That's right. If you've ever heard the word immersion before, you might be wondering what exactly it means when it comes to language learning. The simplest way to understand it is this. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English as much as possible in your daily life, even if you are not in an English-speaking country. It means making English a natural part of your environment so that your brain gets used to the language without even realizing it. Instead of just studying English for 1 or 2 hours a week in a classroom, immersion allows you to learn naturally by hearing, seeing, and interacting with English all the time. This method helps you absorb the language in a way that feels effortless and enjoyable rather than like hard work.
Exactly. Think about how children learn their first language. They don't sit down with a grammar book or memorize long lists of vocabulary words. Instead, they hear the language all around them, every single day, from the moment they are born. They listen to their parents talk to them. They hear conversations between other people. They watch cartoons and TV shows, and they hear music in the background. Even before they can speak, they are constantly listening and absorbing the sounds, rhythms, and patterns of the language. Over time, their brains start to recognize words and phrases, and little by little, they begin to speak naturally, without thinking too much about it. This process happens because they are fully immersed in the language, and their minds are constantly working to make sense of it. Now, here's the exciting part. This same method works for adults, too. A lot of people think that learning a new language as an adult is much harder than learning it as a child. But the truth is that immersion can help adults learn in a very similar way. The more you expose yourself to English in your everyday life, the more naturally it will start to feel. You won't have to force yourself to remember difficult grammar rules or struggle with pronunciation because your brain will start picking up these things automatically just by being surrounded by the language.
Now, you might be wondering, why is immersion so important? Can't I just study English for a few hours a week and still improve? The truth is, traditional studying, like taking classes, reading textbooks, or learning grammar rules, is helpful, but it's not enough on its own. If you really want to become fluent in English, you need to go beyond just studying. You need to make English a part of your daily life, just like your native language. Think about it this way. If you only hear and use English for a few hours each week, your brain doesn't get enough exposure to really process and internalize the language. It's like going to the gym once a week and expecting to become really strong. You need regular, consistent practice to see real results. But if you surround yourself with English every day, even in small ways, your brain will start to recognize patterns, remember words, and understand sentence structures without you even realizing it. This is because our brains are naturally designed to pick up languages when we are exposed to them frequently. When you immerse yourself in English, you are training your brain to think in English rather than just translating everything from your native language. This shift is one of the most important steps toward fluency because it helps you react faster and speak more naturally. Instead of struggling to remember words or worrying about grammar rules while talking, you will start to form sentences automatically, just like you do in your first language. That's the real power of immersion. It makes English feel like a natural part of your life rather than just something you are trying to learn.
Now that we've talked about why immersion is so important, let's go over some practical ways that you can bring more English into your daily life, no matter where you live. You don't need to travel to an English-speaking country or take expensive classes to immerse yourself in English. You can create an English environment right where you are. One of the easiest ways to start is by making small changes to your surroundings. For example, you can label different objects in your home with their English names. You can put a sticker on your refrigerator that says fridge, on your mirror that says mirror, and on your door that says door. This way, every time you see these objects, your brain will naturally connect them with their English names without you having to memorize them. Over time, this will help you build a strong vocabulary without much effort. Another great way to immerse yourself in English is by listening to English as much as possible throughout the day. You can listen to English music while cooking, play English podcasts while driving or walking, and watch English movies or TV shows with subtitles. Even if you don't understand every word, your brain will still be absorbing the sounds and structures of the language, which will help you improve over time.
Yes, and if you really want to take your immersion to the next level, try changing the language settings on your phone, computer, and social media apps to English. At first, it might feel a little difficult, but this small change will help you get used to seeing and reading English words every day. When you scroll through your phone, you will start recognizing common words and phrases without even thinking about it. Another fun way to immerse yourself is by thinking in English. Instead of translating everything in your head, try describing what you're doing in English throughout the day. For example, if you are making coffee, you can say to yourself, "I am making coffee. The water is boiling. I will add some sugar." These simple sentences will help you practice forming thoughts in English without pressure.
Now that we've talked about the power of immersion and how surrounding yourself with English can make learning easier and more natural, let's move on to the next big secret that helped me, and so many other English learners, become fluent. This secret might not sound as exciting as immersion, but trust me, it's one of the most important keys to success. And that secret is consistency and daily practice.
Yes. Learning English is not something that happens overnight. It's not something you can do once in a while and expect to improve quickly. The real progress happens when you practice every single day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Think about anything you've ever gotten good at in your life. Maybe it's playing a musical instrument, cooking, playing a sport, or even something simple like riding a bicycle. At first, it might have felt difficult, and maybe you even made mistakes. But the more you did it, the easier it became.
Exactly. When I first started learning English, I made so many mistakes. There were times when I felt frustrated because I didn't understand things, and I even thought about giving up. But I realized something important. If I just kept going, even a little bit every day, I would keep improving. And that's exactly what happened. Every day, I would spend a little time practicing, and slowly, I started seeing progress.
Now you might be wondering, why is daily practice so important? Can't I just study English once or twice a week and still improve? Well, the truth is, language learning is just like building a habit. Imagine you want to get physically stronger. If you go to the gym once a month, will you see results? Probably not. But if you exercise a little bit every day, even for just 15 or 20 minutes, you will slowly get stronger over time. The same rule applies to learning English. When you practice English every day, even if it's just listening to a short podcast, writing a few sentences, or having a quick conversation with yourself, you are training your brain to get used to the language. Your brain starts recognizing words and phrases more quickly, your pronunciation improves, and your confidence grows. The more you do it, the more natural English will feel.
That's a really good comparison. And you know, there's another reason why daily practice is so powerful. When you practice every day, you don't forget what you've learned. If you only study once a week, by the time you come back to English, you might have already forgotten a lot of what you learned the last time. But if you practice a little every day, even for just 10 or 15 minutes, everything stays fresh in your mind, and you keep building on what you already know.
Now let's talk about how you can make daily practice a part of your life. A lot of people say, I don't have time to study English every day. And I understand that life is busy. You might have school, work, family responsibilities, and many other things going on. But the good news is, practicing English doesn't have to take hours. Even small, simple activities can help you improve. The key is to make English practice a habit. One of the best ways to do this is by creating a daily routine. This means setting aside a specific time each day, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, to focus on English. And the best part? You don't even need to sit down with a book. You can fit English into your daily life in creative ways.
That's a great point. Here's an example of a simple daily routine that you can follow. Morning, 5 minutes. When you wake up, try thinking in English. Instead of saying, I need to get ready, in your native language, say it in English. I need to get ready. I will brush my teeth. I will eat breakfast. During the day, 10 minutes. Listen to an English song, podcast or audiobook while walking, driving, or cooking. Evening, 5 to 10 minutes. Write down 3 to 5 sentences about your day in English. It can be as simple as, today, I went to work. I had a meeting. The weather was cold. Night, 5 minutes. Before you go to bed, watch a short English video or read something in English. Even a few sentences can help keep English fresh in your mind.
That's a really effective routine. And remember, you don't have to do all of these things. Even if you choose just 1 or 2, that's still progress. The key is to do something every day.
Learning English can sometimes feel like a difficult and overwhelming task, especially when you don't have the right methods or resources to guide you. Many learners struggle because they rely only on traditional textbooks, which can sometimes be boring or difficult to apply in real-life situations. But one of the most effective ways to make learning easier, more engaging, and even enjoyable is by using multimedia tools. Instead of just studying long lists of vocabulary words or memorizing grammar rules without context, you can watch videos, listen to podcasts, use interactive language learning apps, and even enjoy music in English. These tools expose you to natural speech, help you hear real conversations, and allow you to pick up pronunciation, sentence structure, and commonly used phrases in a way that feels natural and effortless.
That's absolutely right. When I first started learning English, I quickly realized that just reading from a textbook and doing grammar exercises wasn't enough to help me communicate fluently. I found myself struggling to understand native speakers because I wasn't familiar with the way they naturally spoke. That's when I decided to change my approach and started incorporating different types of multimedia into my learning routine. I began watching English videos with subtitles, listening to simple audiobooks, and following podcasts designed for English learners. It made a huge difference in my learning process because I was constantly hearing English in a natural and meaningful way. Instead of feeling frustrated and stuck, I found myself getting used to the rhythm and flow of the language, and my ability to understand and speak improved significantly over time.
Exactly. One of the biggest advantages of using multimedia tools is that they expose you to English as it is actually spoken in everyday life. Many times, textbooks focus too much on formal language, but when you listen to native speakers in videos, interviews, or even casual conversations in movies, you start to recognize real-life expressions and the way people naturally communicate. For example, if you watch a YouTube video about daily conversations, you'll hear common phrases, contractions, and even slang that might not be found in textbooks. Over time, your brain becomes more familiar with these words and expressions, making it easier for you to understand and use them yourself.
And another great thing about multimedia tools is that they fit into any lifestyle. Some people don't have time to sit down and study for hours, but with podcasts or audiobooks, you can learn English while doing other activities, like exercising, cooking, or commuting to work. Listening to English regularly, even for just a few minutes a day, helps train your ear to recognize words and sentences more quickly. It's like learning a song. You hear it enough times, and suddenly, you can remember the lyrics without even trying. The same happens with language learning. The more you expose yourself to English through different multimedia sources, the more natural it becomes.
That's a great point. Another helpful multimedia tool is language learning apps, which are designed to make practicing English fun and interactive. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Anki help you learn vocabulary, improve pronunciation, and practice sentence building in a way that doesn't feel like traditional studying. Many of these apps use games, challenges, and repetition techniques to reinforce learning, which helps you remember words and phrases better. Plus, since you can use these apps anytime and anywhere, you can fit language practice into your daily routine without feeling like you're doing extra work.
Yes, and let's not forget about music. Listening to English songs is one of the most enjoyable ways to improve pronunciation and word recognition. When you sing along to lyrics, you're naturally practicing pronunciation, rhythm, and even intonation without even realizing it. And the best part is you don't need to understand every single word to benefit from listening to English music. Over time, you start recognizing common words and phrases, and this improves your ability to understand spoken English in other situations as well. A great way to use music for learning is to find a song you like, look up the lyrics, and sing along while reading the words. This helps you connect the sounds to their written forms and improves both listening and speaking skills.
That's a fantastic tip. And for those who enjoy reading, audiobooks and simple English books are another great resource. Listening to an audiobook while following along with the text is a powerful way to improve both listening comprehension and reading skills at the same time. Many audiobooks have clear pronunciation and slower speech, which makes them perfect for beginners. If you choose a story that interests you, it won't even feel like studying. It will just feel like enjoying a good book.
Absolutely. The key is to find the multimedia tools that work best for you and make them a regular part of your learning routine. If you enjoy watching videos, start with simple English learning channels or shows with subtitles. If you prefer listening, try podcasts or audiobooks. If you like reading, find books that match your level. The more you engage with English through different types of multimedia, the faster you will improve. The most important thing is to be consistent and make it a daily habit. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of listening or reading every day can make a big difference over time.
That's so true. Using multimedia tools makes learning English not just easier, but also more enjoyable. Instead of feeling like a difficult task, it becomes a natural and fun part of your everyday life. So, if you're learning English, start exploring different resources today. Watch a video, listen to a podcast, sing along to a song, or read a short story. The more you immerse yourself in the language through multimedia, the faster you will improve. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and most importantly, enjoy the journey of learning. One of the most important yet often overlooked aspects of learning English is actually speaking the language out loud. Many learners spend countless hours studying grammar rules, memorizing vocabulary words, and practicing their listening skills, but when it comes to having a real conversation, they freeze or hesitate because they lack confidence. The truth is, no matter how much knowledge you have about English, you won't truly feel fluent until you can comfortably and confidently communicate with others. This is why speaking practice is absolutely essential. It helps you bridge the gap between knowing the language and actually using it in real-life situations. And the best part is, you don't need to be perfect when you start speaking. You just need to begin. The more you speak, the easier it becomes, and over time, you will find yourself naturally improving without even realizing it.
That is so true. I remember when I was first learning English, I used to be terrified of speaking. I was always so worried about making mistakes, mispronouncing words, or not being able to find the right thing to say. Because of that fear, I avoided speaking as much as possible, and instead I focused only on reading and writing. But after months of studying, I realized that my speaking skills were not improving at all. I could understand English when I read it, and I could write sentences correctly, but whenever I tried to have a real conversation, I struggled. I would pause too much, forget words, or feel too shy to speak up. Eventually, I realized that the only way to improve my speaking was to actually start speaking, even if it meant making mistakes. I started by having small, simple conversations with my teacher and classmates. At first, I was still nervous, but the more I practiced, the more comfortable I became. After some time, I noticed that I was thinking less about grammar while speaking and focusing more on just expressing myself naturally. That was a huge turning point for me.
That's such a great example. I think a lot of learners experience the same thing. They spend so much time studying, but hesitate when it comes to speaking because they don't want to make mistakes. But the reality is that mistakes are completely normal and actually a very important part of the learning process. No one speaks a new language perfectly from the beginning. Think about how children learn to talk in their native language. They don't worry about grammar, sentence structure, or pronunciation. They just start speaking, trying new words, making mistakes, and learning as they go. And that's exactly how adults should approach learning English too. Instead of worrying about being perfect, focus on being consistent. Speak as much as possible, even if you make mistakes, because each conversation you have is an opportunity to improve. Absolutely. And the good news is that there are so many ways to practice speaking, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country or don't have native speakers around you. One of the easiest ways is to practice with other English learners. If you have classmates or friends who are also learning English, you can set up a regular speaking practice session where you take turns asking and answering questions in English. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can start with simple topics like introducing yourself, talking about your hobbies, or describing your daily routine. The goal is to get comfortable expressing your thoughts out loud, and if you don't have anyone to practice with, you can even talk to yourself in English. It might feel strange at first, but it's actually a great way to build confidence. Try describing what you're doing throughout the day, like, "Now I'm making breakfast," or "I need to go to the store and buy some fruit."
This helps train your brain to think in English and improves your ability to form sentences quickly.
That's such a great tip. Another excellent way to practice speaking is through role-playing exercises. Role-playing helps you prepare for real-life situations by practicing specific conversations you might have in English. For example, let's do a quick role-play exercise right now. Imagine you are in a restaurant and you want to order food. I'll be the waiter and you can be the customer. Let's start.
Sounds good. I'll begin. Excuse me, I'd like to order, please. I would like to have a cheeseburger with fries and a glass of orange juice, please.
Great choice. Would you like anything else with your order?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right. Your order will be ready in about 10 minutes. Enjoy your meal.
That was fun. Role-playing like this is such a simple but effective way to practice English. And the best part is, you can do it on your own by imagining different situations, or you can practice with a friend, a teacher, or even online language exchange partners. The more you do it, the more natural and automatic your responses will become.
Exactly. And for those who feel shy or nervous about speaking English, it's important to remember that confidence comes with practice. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll feel, and the less you'll worry about making mistakes. One great way to boost confidence is to start with small, simple conversations and gradually work your way up to longer, more complex discussions. For example, you can begin by practicing common greetings and introductions, then move on to talking about your hobbies, work, or daily life. With time, you'll notice that you can speak more smoothly and with less hesitation.
Yes. And another great strategy to build confidence is to focus on communication rather than perfection. Many learners hesitate to speak because they are afraid of making grammatical mistakes. But the truth is, even native speakers make mistakes sometimes, and that doesn't stop them from communicating. The goal of speaking is to be understood, not to be perfect. If you don't know a specific word, try to describe it using other words. If you make a grammar mistake, don't worry about it. Just keep speaking. Over time, you'll naturally correct yourself as you become more familiar with the language.
That's such an important point. And remember, the key to improving your speaking skills is to make speaking a daily habit. Try to include some speaking practice in your routine every single day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Whether it's talking to a friend, practicing with a language partner, or simply speaking to yourself in the mirror, every bit of practice helps. The more you use English in real-life situations, the more confident and fluent you will become.
Absolutely. So to all of our listeners, don't be afraid to start speaking English today. Find a speaking partner, practice role-playing different conversations, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Learning a language is a journey, and every small step you take brings you closer to fluency. Just keep going, stay consistent, and have fun with it.
Wow, what an incredible discussion we've had today. We've explored so many essential strategies that can help English learners improve their speaking skills, from immersing themselves in the language every day and practicing consistently to using multimedia tools and, most importantly, stepping out of their comfort zones to speak with others and build confidence. One of the biggest takeaways from today's episode is that learning a new language isn't just about studying grammar rules, memorizing long lists of vocabulary words, or passively listening to English content. While those things are important, real progress happens when you actively use the language in daily situations. Push yourself to speak even when you feel nervous, and embrace mistakes as valuable learning experiences rather than obstacles. The more you use English in real conversations, the more natural and effortless it will feel over time.
That's absolutely right. And I think one of the most important things to remember is that fluency is not something that happens overnight. It's a journey that requires patience, dedication, and a strong willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. Many English learners feel discouraged when they don't see immediate progress, but the truth is, every small step you take brings you closer to fluency. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. The more you practice speaking, the more your brain adapts, and the more confident you become. And confidence is key. Many learners struggle not because they lack knowledge, but because they hesitate to speak out of fear of making mistakes. But if you change your mindset and start seeing mistakes as a natural and necessary part of the learning process, you will find that speaking English becomes much less stressful and much more enjoyable.
Exactly. And we really want to encourage all of our listeners to take action after this episode. It's easy to listen to advice and think, that sounds great, but real progress happens when you put what you've learned into practice. So don't just listen to this podcast and move on. Make a plan for how you can start using these techniques in your own English learning journey. Try setting small, realistic goals for yourself, like speaking in English for 5 minutes a day, having a short conversation with a friend or language partner, or even just practicing in front of a mirror. Remember, it's not about how much you know, it's about how much you use what you know. The more you actively engage with the language, the faster you will improve.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you are not alone on this journey. There are so many resources and communities out there to support you, including podcasts like this one, language exchange programs, online speaking groups, and even social media communities where you can connect with other learners who share the same goal. If you ever feel discouraged, just remind yourself why you started learning English in the first place. Maybe it's to travel, to study abroad, to get a better job, or simply to communicate with people from around the world. Whatever your reason is, hold on to it and let it be your motivation to keep going. Fluency is within your reach. You just have to take one step at a time.
That's a fantastic point, Julia. So to all of our listeners, we want to say thank you for spending this time with us today. We truly hope that this episode has inspired you to take your English learning to the next level. Keep practicing, keep pushing yourself, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process. Learning a language is a beautiful journey, and every word you speak brings you closer to your goal.
Yes! And don't forget to subscribe to the English Globe so you never miss an episode. We'll be back with more helpful tips, engaging conversations, and exciting language learning strategies to help you on your path to fluency. Until then, keep speaking, keep learning, and remember, you are capable of becoming a confident English speaker.
That's right. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone, and happy learning.